Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today as we celebrate National Manufacturing Day, and most importantly, as we celebrate what's made in the Mohawk Valley. My name is Kate Alcott, and I have the pleasure of working on this beautiful campus. And in a moment, I'm going to introduce you to our Chief Operating Officer to formally welcome you. But before I do, I just need to acknowledge who's here. First of all, I want to recognize all the manufacturers in the room. The ones that were over here. This day is about honoring you, the makers. Later on, all of you will have a chance to look at their exhibits more carefully and to talk to them about their products. Please take a moment to thank them for the vital work that they do in our region. By the way, you may or may not be aware of this. I mean, it's not like a Hallmark holiday or anything, but there are Manufacturing Day events going on all across the country today. Right here in New York State, we're one of 100 programs celebrating the manufacturing industry. Our governor has proclaimed October Manufacturing Month in New York State. So manufacturers, the whole state will be saluting you this month. We're just kicking off the celebration. Next, I'd like to welcome all our high school students, their teachers, and their administrators. There are a lot of you here. 20 different school districts and 3 BOCES are on deck today. We have also invited some of our college partners. Thank you, MVCC, Herkimer, Morrisville, and Fulton Montgomery Community College for joining our expo today. Our event sponsor, the Workforce Development Institute, and our movie sponsor, Workforce Investment Board Working Solutions, they have tables set up in the expo too. Thank you both for your very generous support of this event. We have lots of college students, business people, and government agencies represented here today. When I left campus last night, it was kind of late, over 780 people had registered. That's a lot. How's that for community support of manufacturing? So give yourselves a hand for proudly supporting Made in the Mohawk Valley. Okay, so without further ado, by the way, I got them all warmed up for you. It's my pleasure to introduce to you the Chief Operating Officer of SUNY Polytechnic Institute, Dr. Robert Gear.
Good morning, everyone. Oh, we can do much better than that, especially in the back. Good morning, everyone. Oh, that was much better. So it's a beautiful fall day here in the Mohawk Valley, and I'm thrilled to welcome everyone. The Manufacturing Day is particularly meaningful here. This is SUNY Polytechnic Institute, and it's a long history of focusing on technology, and not only for our students, but for our partners. I think the best example of the direction we're moving in today is the expansion of our academic programs in engineering, the expansion and growth of academic programs in health sciences. We can go down the list. But the focus, of course, is the technology and being able to not only train tomorrow's workforce, but to engage the innovation right here on campus. And as you drove in, you may have seen a nice, shiny glass building, the Computer Chip Commercialization Center, which is going to be coming online later this year, and a fantastic symbol for the resurgence of manufacturing here in the Mohawk Valley, and a fantastic symbol for the need that the U.S. has right now for students coming out in these fields. This is not a need that we're going to see 5 years from now. This is a need that exists now. This is why STEM careers are some of the most, first of all, there's the greatest need in this area. They're extremely healthy careers in terms of compensation, and no better place to start that for our students than right here at SUNY Poly. I'd certainly love to thank everyone that's come out, and Kate did a wonderful job. I certainly want to recognize many of our partners as she did. I saw President Bill Mirabito here from our sister campus in Morrisville, and saw so many of our friends here from certainly from the area business community. Likewise, I play a role on our local Regional Economic Development Council here for the Mohawk Valley, and I saw several of our council members here today, so that's wonderful to see. As we go through the program today, I think it's extremely important, certainly for our partners here today, but especially for all the young people here, the students, because now is the time that you're thinking of careers. And manufacturing used to have this image of, especially here in the Northeast, of a brick building, a mill, and you name it. It's not that way anymore. Manufacturing is at the cutting edge. Right, just the facility that we put on this campus is focusing on the latest in chip technology, the technologies you use in your phones, the technology that we're using in medical devices. This is where it's happening, and it is absolutely manufacturing. And right now, in these cutting edge areas, the difference, the time frame between R&D and manufacturing has shrunk dramatically. It used to be you'd make a breakthrough in the laboratory. 10 or 15 years later, you'd see that show up, on the store shelves. And it's not that way anymore. There's absolutely many applications which take a long time to develop, but more and more, we're going right from the laboratory right into the manufacturing line. And that's exactly where the innovation comes in, because you need an engaged team, you need an interdisciplinary team, you need people working together from all the fields to make this happen. And whether it's an implantable medical device, whether it's the next generation unmanned aerial vehicle technology, whether it's the next generation smartphone, all right, it's the same paradigm. We're needing people to come into this, young people, innovative minds, and that's the most important resource that we have. So as you go through today, think about that. And there'll be a lot of people here from companies in the region sort of taking your temperature to see, hey, are they the next people I'm going to recruit? So once again, welcome. I think you'll have an exciting day, and I'm going to turn it back over to Kate to get things started.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it, Bob. That building he was talking about, Quad C, because none of us can say that, Computer Chip Commercialization Center. That beautiful building, by the way, is over there. And when you're done today, if you want to take a walk, it's a gorgeous day, check it out. I've seen the rendering of this building many, many times, and rarely does the building look better than the artist's rendering. And this does. It's stunning, it's gorgeous, it's high-tech, it's flashy. So check it out. All right, so now I'd like to introduce you to our provost, Dr. William Durgan, who's going to share with you a little bit about our teaching philosophy here and how we're preparing the future makers. Bill?
Thank you, Kate. I was asked to spend a few minutes and bring you up to speed on a couple of things. One is what we're doing with our Center for Global Advanced Manufacturing. I think most of the manufacturers in the room know that. I don't know whether many of the students are aware of that, so I hope I give you a little bit of a feeling for what's going on there. And also to give you a little bit of information about what's going on our campus with regard to student educational activities. So let me begin by talking a little bit about our SUNY 2020 project. And it involves 10 other colleges in the state of New York. Some of them are here today. For example, Morrisville is focusing on manufacturing and agriculture, and Herkimer is focusing on quality manufacturing technologies, and every one of those 10 institutions has a special focus. They all work together in a network in order to support the competitive ability of our manufacturers in New York, and that's the way we've structured that CGAM organization. Here at our campus, we have a very exciting new opportunity going on here, which is intended to support, among other things, student project activity, and that's what I want to focus on here today. We're in the process of doing a substantial remodeling of one of our academic buildings. We're going to convert a whole floor of that building into spaces that are focused on project activity. We're going to have very advanced rapid prototyping capabilities. We're going to have 3D printing capabilities. We're going to have a very, very exciting advanced design studio. We're going to have what's called a makerspace. How many of you students have heard of makerspaces? Is that something? I see a lot of hands down here on the floor, not too many up in the after pews here. But a makerspace is a common area where people who want to design things and build things can do it. Basically a glorified garage, a large garage that has a lot of resources, every kind of tool imaginable, every kind of electronics available, every kind of computer available. So if you've got an idea for something you'd like to build, it's a place that you can go and build it. And that's what education here on our campus is all about. We will also have on that floor a lot of collaborative spaces where our students can do project activity. And you have two examples over here in the display area. You have our Mohawk Club, which builds off-road vehicles as student project activity, and you have our NCS Club, which works on problems in the cybersecurity area. It's especially exciting these days, as you frequently hear on the news, with regard to some of the break-ins that are occurring and some of the needs that we have in promoting cybersecurity. This whole process is scheduled to be completed next year. We're beginning to receive equipment for this establishment, and first thing that we build will be the design studio, and then we'll follow that very, very quickly with rapid prototyping and 3D printing capability. So we're going to have some very, very substantial activity and capability here on campus. That's pretty exciting news, I think, for students that join us as undergraduate students. It's also exciting news for our graduate students, but more importantly, it's pretty exciting news to manufacturers in the area, because under the nature of this particular program, all of this equipment, all these resources are available to local manufacturers as well. So we're pretty excited about all of this. So we have in this capability cutting-edge instructional facilities. We have a strong connectivity with Albany. You can imagine now, for those of you that don't know, we have two campuses, one here and one in Albany, about an hour and a half apart by drive, and we are really relying very, very heavily on electronic communications, and so we have need to continually upgrade our electronic teleconferencing capability, and it's rapidly improving, and it's going to be pretty exciting for us. We have the design is underway for the launch next year, and we're going to focus on project-based problem solving, very advanced benchtop equipment like scanning electron microscopes and those sorts of things, and we're going to have very collaborative teaching spaces, all of which will be exciting, very, very exciting for our students. Just a word about our philosophy on education. Project-based learning is something that's really dear to my heart. It's very central to our campus, and it's here in Utica, and it's also very central to our campus now in Albany. And the whole focus is on learn by doing, and the theory is that students learn much better when they actually do things than when they have people like me up in front talking at them. So the engagement of students in learn by doing, learning on a need-to-know basis, is really critical to the philosophy that we embrace here. For the manufacturers here and also for students to know, teamwork is really important in order to build a competitive manufacturing community or any business. In this day and age, you simply can't do things alone anymore. You need to be able to get along with, you need to be able to work collaboratively, and you need to have the ability to engage in strong teamwork. So teamwork is something that we really emphasize here on campus for our own students. Our philosophy is, and my personal philosophy is, that when you're working with new ideas and new products, the whole game is about designing it, building it, and testing it. The President mentioned UAVs recently, and this is a particularly exciting area. for us because it opens up a very, very wide horizons with regard to the things that our students can contribute to and our faculty can get engaged in. So we're really focused on designing, building, and testing. And I also am very partial to developing the ability in our graduates, and students, you need to hear this, and manufacturers, you'll appreciate this. Communication is incredibly important in this competitive world. You need to be able to write, and you need to be able to present. And those two activities are very much part of what we do here on our campus. For the manufacturers here in the region, one of the exciting opportunities that we're opening up here on campus is what we call corporate-sponsored projects. And that's when we get together with you so that our students can work on problems that you're experiencing in your manufacturing industries. It has to be tremendous value to you, but on the other hand, we're not just supplying workforce to you. This is an educational experience for our students, so there need to be substantial learning outcomes. We go right back to this idea of learning on a need-to-know basis. So we want to ensure that all projects that we do in cooperation with industries have those capabilities. We need from you a corporate mentor, somebody that can spend time with our students and somebody who's knowledgeable and is good at teaching him or herself. And then we need to engage a faculty advisor here to uphold the academic aspects of what we do. And typically this would be senior project activity, for example, and it probably would go on all year, both semesters. Might go on over the summer, but we can make arrangements to engage our students and engage projects that you have that are important. For students, this is really incredibly important because students who engage in corporate sponsorships most of the time have the offer of eventually being employed by that sponsor. If you do a good job, that industry will probably make you an offer. And so it's a really good opportunity for you to get a foot in the door. For the manufacturers, it's an incredible opportunity to get an inside track at recruiting the best students. So it's a terrific opportunity for all of us. A couple of examples that were at our project showcase last year. This is a small project team that set out to design a lighter weight, stronger hub for a bicycle wheel, and they did all this using computer-aided design and then 3D printing to produce the hubs, and then they tested them on an actual bicycle. So this was a pretty exciting project. It's the kinds of things that students do. This is a photograph of our robotics team. We have a very good first FRC level robotics team here on campus that engages a number of the high schools in the area, and this is part of that team, and the whole idea is to design and build a robot to compete in the first robotics competition. This team went to the regional contest in RPI last year and then went to the national competition in St. Louis last year, and they had great success, very, very strong team. Very innovative, lots of activities in there, mechanical, electrical, software, management, advertising, video, all sorts of capabilities are needed on these teams. How many students out there come from high schools that have first robotics teams? Give me a little show of hands so I know what's going on. We've got to work on this. I would hope to see every hand out there. So go back to your high school and beat the drum, and let's get robotic teams established on every single high school campus or in the Mohawk Valley. But anyway, that's about all I wanted to say. It's a great day for us. Just a little bit of philosophy here. You know, manufacturing is one of the activities that we as a society engage in that creates quality of life, and it includes wealth and ensures our economic prosperity. So if we want to have a high quality of life, we need to have a strong manufacturing community. So with that, thanks for coming today and enjoy.
Thank you very much, Bill. I appreciate that. And yes, we got to get going on these robotics teams. I went to the robotics championship at RPI last year with Elizabeth Rossi, and I had never seen anything like it. It was a madhouse with loud music and lots of excitement and competition and fun. It really was a good time. I think it was the New Hartford kids that raised their hand about having the team because they had several members on that team. So come on, step up. We need more. Okay, so when we decided to host this event again, we kind of anticipated a little bit of growth. You know, the first year we had 50 people. Last year we had 375. So this year 500 sounded doable, right? Sounded like a possibility. So we approached Mary Jo Farrar at the local Workforce Development Institute to see if her agency would be interested in sponsoring this event. Without hesitation, WDI stepped up to the plate. So it is my pleasure to introduce Vivian Benton, Director of Operations for the Workforce Development Institute, our event sponsor.
Good morning. Great crowd today. I wanted to spend just a couple of minutes and tell you about what the Workforce Development Institute is up to and how we intersect with manufacturing. For those of you who may not be familiar with us, we are a statewide nonprofit. We have locations in 9 regions of the state. Sounds like a huge organization, but it actually isn't. There's only about 25 of us. Our mission, very broadly, is jobs. So we're interested in programs that enable job growth, job stabilization, retention, keeping jobs in New York State, and also job promotion, helping people move up a career ladder within a company. So manufacturing is a sector that interests us very much because we see it every day and it's in growth mode, and in general, these jobs pay a lot better than a lot of other sectors. So if you're interested in this sector for the students, it's a great one. The way we've been interacting with manufacturers across the state, pretty actively actually, is via a grants program. The grants program that we run is not your typical grants program. It's kind of unique. It's very hands-on. I often refer to it as an interactive grants program because what we like to do is come out and see the company. We collect a lot of the information for the grant through a site visit. We like to hear directly from the company what's going on, where's the company been, what are some of the challenges you're facing, where are you going, what's your proposal to us? And usually at the end of the site visit, we have a pretty good sense of whether or not what you're proposing fits with what we do. If it does, the whole process is very, very streamlined. We help you with the application comes in the door, and usually within about a week, there's a contract written up. So really what makes us unique is that our program is very streamlined to help the manufacturer move ahead on their programming quickly. Another aspect of us that's a little bit different is that our funding is actually pretty flexible, so there's not a lot that we cannot do. And I want to give you just a sampling of programs that we funded over the last couple of months, just to give you a sense that it's a wide variety. A lot of incumbent worker training. Could be hard skills like machining, welding, programmable logic, shop math, and statistics. Could be softer skills. We've seen a lot of requests for customer service, sales, supervisory training. We also do a lot of business process work with manufacturers, so lean manufacturing, ISO certifications, small capital equipment, software and software implementation. And another category that we've been working on and we'd really like to see expand is pre-employment training. So helping junior level people access and get into companies, into those junior level jobs. We see a lot of openings across the state and they're going unfilled because people don't have the right skills. And later today you're going to hear from a great program that we funded the last couple of years, a program partnership between Finger Lakes Community College and GW Lisk around a junior machinist training program. Great program. We'd love to see it duplicated to other areas of the state. So in general, I would encourage you to stop by our table if you have any questions about the program. And I should also mention the way that we're funded. We're actually funded through the state. So this is your legislators who have seen demand for this program and have added money to the budget this year pretty significantly, specifically for manufacturing. So thank you to the legislators who may be here. I see Assemblyman Brindisi. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much, Vivian. I appreciate that. Okay, so you want to hear a funny story? Yeah? So last year, the day before this event, my keynote speaker and Congressman Hanna, who was going to introduce the keynote speaker, well, they both contacted me to say that they were trapped in Washington, D.C., thanks to sequestration. And students, ask your teachers what sequestration is. It's something awful that happened with our government last fall, first week in October. Yep, so they couldn't leave the city, and we did a little shuffling and made it work. And yesterday, John Zogby, this year's keynote speaker, called to tell me that he was trapped in Washington, D.C., and couldn't get a flight out in time to join us today. What is it about Washington, D.C. and Manufacturing Day? I don't understand it. 2 years in a row. But, talk about a silver lining. One of the first people to register for this event, because I've been watching this Google Doc populate, one of the very first people was Assemblyman Anthony Brindisi. And yesterday, I happened to run into him at a work luncheon, and we were talking about this legislation that he's supporting to create a new career and technical education diploma that incorporates career-focused education. The goal is to produce more highly skilled workers for New York State's technical and manufacturing industries. So yesterday afternoon at 4 o'clock, after I hung up the phone and learned that John Zogby was stuck in Washington, D.C., I went, wait, he said manufacturing, didn't he? I called him up and explained I needed a pinch hitter. He said, without hesitation, I'd be happy to do it. So, ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to present to you a Utica native who graduated from Siena College and Albany Law School and was elected to the New York State Assembly in 2011, my hero, Anthony Brindisi.
I guess the moral of the story is, don't answer the phone after 4 o'clock. But I'm the only goof in the office after 4, apparently, so I took the call. I'm honored to be here today. I know many of you were expecting John Zogby. John's a good friend of mine. He was going to be here to talk about millennials. I'm almost a millennial, so I guess this will work out just fine. Really, I'm just here to get all the free swag, but I guess I'll have to do a little speech while I'm here. I am honored to be here today to help celebrate Manufacturing Day at a very exciting time in our area's history. From textile mills to radios to nanotechnology, our region has a rich history and tradition in manufacturing. And as we're gathered here on the campus of the new SUNY Polytechnic Institute, we sit on the verge of the next great industrial revolution for the Mohawk Valley and New York State. Manufacturing is alive and well in this room, and I'm delighted to join all of you to help spread the message that manufacturing is no longer dark, dangerous, assembly line work for low-skilled workers. It's technologically advanced, it's high-skilled, it's done in clean rooms, it's 3D printing, it's robotics, and it's computerization. Manufacturing also pays well. The Bureau of Labor Statistics reported that a manufacturing worker, on average, earns about $24 an hour. Manufacturing jobs are also likely to come with good benefits, and manufacturing has one of the highest tenure in the private sector. Also, in many cases, manufacturing only requires a 2-year associate's degree. Gee, with all these perks, I'd say manufacturers in this room have no trouble finding highly skilled workers for their job openings. Right, guys? Wrong. How many of you have had trouble finding skilled workers to meet the job demands? Anybody? Okay. How many of you have heard the phrase middle skills job gap? You've heard it. Okay. Manufacturers say they can't find skilled workers to run their sophisticated equipment, Job seekers don't have the skills to match the job openings and the help wanted ads. Older workers are retiring fast, and work is becoming more high-tech. This is a problem locally and nationally. The result, in an industry that employs 73.6 million people nationally, 600,000 manufacturing jobs went unfilled last year. One would say that this is an economic crisis for our country. I'd say it's an educational one. High schools have cut their shop classes, and students are pushed to attain a four-year degree no matter the major. High school students have been led to believe a four-year degree is the minimum standard for a career. In New York State, we've assumed for too long that every student wants to be a doctor, a teacher, a writer, or even worse, a lawyer. I'm a lawyer and a politician, so I don't know where that leaves me. We've forgotten that we live in a world that still needs welders, machinists, plumbers, electricians, and IT technicians. Students have forgotten that in today's day, there's really no such thing as being out of work if you're capable of working in a skilled trade or technical field. And finally, there's been historically a disconnect between the skills manufacturers need and the programs our schools are teaching. So what are we doing about this here in New York State? Unfortunately, in a state that prides itself on its educational system, we are failing thousands of students and falling further and further behind other states in graduation rates. But I believe that there is a solution on the horizon. And with a little help from the type of people in this room, I believe we can transform the educational system here in New York for the betterment of all. I'd like to talk to you a little bit about a plan I've been working on now for over 2 years. It's a plan that I first unveiled publicly about a year ago at Oneida Herkimer Madison BOCES here in New Hartford. Thank you, Howard Mettleman. I'm starting to feel a little bit like a one-trick pony because it's a plan I talk about everywhere I go. But I believe it's important for the economic survival of our state and the educational future of our children. And it's a plan that groups who don't always agree, like business groups, labor unions, educators, parents, and students all support. It's called the 21st Century Education Initiative. This plan, I know, will be beneficial not only for students in New York State and our public schools who are interested in pursuing a trade, but also for high-tech and manufacturing businesses that are looking to hire new workers. I'd like to briefly tell you a little bit about this plan, how it came about, where it stands now, and then, if possible, take some of your questions. The 21st Century Education Initiative is simple. I believe New York State should create a Career and Technical Education, or CTE diploma pathway option for high school students. You may ask, what is Career and Technical Education? CTE is careers in computer technology, high-skilled manufacturing, carpentry, metalworking, aviation tech, construction trades, nursing, accounting, business administration, and other fields. After I took office in the State Assembly about 3 years ago, one of the first things that I did was take tours of area businesses, especially in the manufacturing sector, to get an idea from their owners what key issues and concerns they were facing. I represent the Mohawk Valley, and as you know, there are still many manufacturers who are doing very well. Some are more traditional manufacturers, while others are in high-tech fields. Almost every time I visited a manufacturer, they said one of the biggest problems they have is an aging workforce and lack of qualified applicants to fill jobs. They told me that their jobs often require some math, analytical, and technical skills. One local manufacturer, and I'll plug them because I know they're here, CTM Corp in Frankfurt, told me a few years ago that they could fill more jobs right away if they could find more skilled applicants for the job. That was a few years ago, and it continues today. This information continues to be borne out in studies and articles that show in every region of our state there are good-paying, high-tech jobs available that are difficult to fill. I was also introducing myself in those first few months in office to school district administrators and others in the field of education. As a former Utica school board member, I wanted to hit the ground running and focus on ways to improve the educational process based on my experiences as a parent of 2 young children in public school and also as a former school board member. When I talked with educators, I was told there's often a disconnect between teachers and guidance counselors and manufacturers. I decided to pursue this issue further, and I convened several meetings where educators, labor leaders, and manufacturers were all in the same room in those meetings. I found that largely all these groups were pretty much on the same page when it comes to what needs to be done to better prepare our students. They just weren't talking enough about the kinds of skills employers were looking for. One principal relayed to me a story about a conversation he overheard between a counselor and a student, where the student had told the counselor he wanted to go into welding, and the counselor replied, "Why would you want to do that?" That's a real problem in a country that currently needs 200,000 more welders. A generation or two ago, New York State had a curriculum in place to fill manufacturing jobs, and there were trade schools. However, under the current Regents diploma, there currently is no specialized diploma allowing for the training or certification today's manufacturers require to fill jobs. Some members of the Board of Regents, which governs curriculum and education policy in our state, have stated for some time that they like the concept of a specialized technical pathway, but for years they did not move forward with the plan. Some educational leaders have felt that creating such a diploma might water down the value of a Regents diploma, and that idea was hindering progress on an alternative pathway to graduation. I realized that this was an issue that many agreed needed to be addressed more concretely, and we needed to get the ball rolling. So that's when I began working on legislation that would create the CTE diploma pathway. I was told achieving this goal legislatively could be risky because the Regents are the policy-making board in New York State, but it seemed to be the best way to build support for the plan and push the Board of Regents to act. If the Regents weren't going to create this pathway through regulation, this legislation would. My idea, after talking to many stakeholders in this process, was to create a diploma that would fulfill the requirements of a Regents diploma, but that would allow students to substitute some Regents requirements for an approved CTE course of work where they could gain training through work-based learning opportunities and industry-recognized certification in technical programs or disciplines. The CTE pathway would include career-focused education classes and curriculum aligned with post-secondary education career pathways, leading to a degree or credentials. It would by no means water down the value of a high school diploma. I believe the opposite is true. It would, in fact, increase the value of a high school diploma. Examples of the possible CTE programs students could take under this plan, which would lead to a high school diploma if they pass an industry-recognized technical assessment, include FAA certification, computer network certification, metalworking skills certification, entry-level electronic technician certification, carpentry certification, accounting, business, graphic arts, and the list goes on. This would also work well with some existing programs found in our BOCES districts. For example, we already have many of these CTE-approved programs in place, and students are already taking exams for entry-level jobs, such as computer networking technician. About 2 years ago, I began formally presenting the ideas for the CTE diploma to education leaders. I wrote to the Chancellor of the State Board of Regents, Merrill Tisch, in December 2012. The Regents continued discussing the idea in meetings and months after, but nothing formal occurred. The public push to gain support for the CTE plan began last fall when I held a news conference at BOCES in New Hartford. I invited chambers of commerce, labor union representatives, and I decided to hold the event at BOCES with many of the students who want to enter a trade field participating. I also partnered with the Genesis Group to unveil a statement of support for the plan that I put on my website, and so far it's brought in several thousand signatures. We followed up that news conference by bringing the State Education Commissioner, John King, and Vice Chancellor of the Regents, Anthony Botar, to a roundtable meeting with many of the stakeholders for the plan to help fine-tune the details of the legislation. We sent memos to my Assembly colleagues, and we gained sponsorship from over 70 legislators in the New York State Assembly. We also wrote to municipalities, school boards, chambers of commerce, labor unions, and we gained many, many memos of support from all over the state in support of this plan. Shortly after the bill was introduced this year, we also held an event in Albany to show support for this plan, and we had media outlets from all over the state, including Albany, New York City, and Syracuse, who have written stories about this initiative. In July of this year, the Assembly Education Committee held a public hearing on the proposal in Utica, and Education Commissioner John King and Vice Chancellor of the Regents, Tony Botar, testified about the merits of the plan. Many people representing labor organizations, school districts, and other organizations testified. The hearing went for over 6 hours, and I believe with the support that we saw there, the CTE diploma plan will become a reality. I think what really hit home for me was the testimony of one student at this hearing. He was a young guy from the Dominican Republic, came here with his family, and had been meeting with several of the local labor union groups who wanted to get him into the apprenticeship program. However, he had to have his high school diploma to get into this program. He took the Global Studies Regents 4 or 5 times, failed it each time, so he could not get his diploma and therefore could not get into this program, which would again lead to a very high-paying job. This is a problem, and we need to do something to address it. So where do we stand right now? I'd say we're on the goal line, but we need the final push to get over. Last month, the New York State Board of Regents had a discussion about the proposal entitled Pathways to Graduation and about college and career readiness. They decided to set a vote this month on whether to create a CTE diploma pathway option for high school students. They also agreed to vote on creating other pathways for high school students to graduation. In addition to a CTE pathway, they will vote to create an arts pathway, a humanities pathway, and a STEM pathway. They set a goal of offering every student in New York an established set of pathways to graduation other than the one-size-fits-all Regents pathway. They want to offer students choices to demonstrate effective outcomes for students. While this approach will emphasize academic skills, they also want to offer an education with career-specific knowledge and skills to give students competency to succeed in a chosen career. This will include a pathway program that can include certificate programs, work-based learning, and courses toward technical degrees, just what my CTE legislation calls for. During this discussion, the Regents pointed out that in states with strong vocational systems, 40 to 75% of upper-level secondary school students choose to participate. Right now, only 12% of New York students concentrate in a CTE field, and only 29% take one CTE course in high school. Members now admit that we can design a stronger secondary CTE curriculum that leads to career credentials or post-secondary education. The Regents will vote later this month on this pathway to graduation. I'll be in Albany for the vote. If it is approved, and I'm hopeful it will be, I will still introduce my legislation next year to formalize it. But the key elements of the bill are all in the proposal the Regents are reviewing for possible action later this month. The good news is students interested in the CTE pathway will be able to graduate high school with an industry-recognized entry-level certification that will lead to a good-paying career or to a 2-year or 4-year institution to advance their certification. Putting programs in place in middle schools and high schools to better prepare our students for the job openings available will not only benefit employers, it will help cut down on the dropout rate here in New York State. I hope you will support this plan, and I look forward to taking any questions you might have. Thank you very much.
Good?
Are there any questions for Assemblyman Brindisi? I am thrilled. That was right on target. Manufacturers, it's what you wanted to hear, right? Creating a workforce. Students, I think a lot of you are thinking, I need a different pathway. Thank you so much. Before you leave, I have a gift for you. And it's heavy. So one of the things we make really well in the Mohawk Valley, who can guess? Okay, all right, you're right on both counts. There is a little beer in here, I'm not gonna lie to you, but there's also a lot of food. We do food in the Mohawk Valley, don't we? Yeah, so here we go, made in the Mohawk Valley.
Thank you very much. This is awesome.
So much.
Thank you.
Some of it's from my garden.
Oh, good. Thank you.
Okay, boy, what a great pinch hitter I had.